Hello, my name is Nate Hess, and I'm a park guide with the Lewis and Clark National Historic Trail. As you can see, I am working from home today. I'm sitting here at my kitchen table. I have a picture up here to the one side of me, and over on the other side here, I have a mug rack with a variety of different mugs on it. And today, I would like to talk with you about a specific uniform item that was worn by members of the Lewis and Clark expedition. But first, I do have a question for you. What is a garment that you've had to wear in the past? What was that garment made from? Was that garment comfortable? Why did you have to wear it? And how did that item make you feel? Members of the Lewis and Clark expedition had to wear specific clothing items too. The members of the Lewis and Clark expedition were on a military expedition. Most of the members of the Lewis and Clark expedition came from pre-existing Army units that had their own uniforms, their own styles of dress, and those soldiers brought their uniforms with them along on the Lewis and Clark expedition. Other members of the Lewis and Clark expedition who were not initially part of the Army enlisted with the United States Army to become part of the Lewis and Clark expedition and were given distinct clothing items of their own as well. Now, at the time of the Lewis and Clark expedition, men in the Army would not have been issued a lot of different uniform items. You might have only had a couple shirts, a couple pairs of pants, some undergarments, and you would have been issued one of what I have here in front of me. And this is an Army jacket, a reproduction Army jacket, in the style of one that would have been worn at the time of the Lewis and Clark expedition. It's quite a long jacket. If I held it up here all the way, if I put it on, it would go down well past my hips, almost down to my knees. Really, it's quite a long jacket. It does have some good coloration on the jacket here as well. Most of it is a dark navy blue, but as you can see here, there is also a nice red trim on the jacket too that goes around the collar and down the front of the jacket. And then on the front of the jacket as well here, we have a bunch of silver colored buttons on the jacket here as well. Now, the men that joined the Lewis and Clark expedition came from a variety of different Army units, and those units did have differences in the types of uniforms that they wore. This jacket that I have here in front of me has silver-colored buttons on it here, and that is to indicate that this jacket represents would have been worn by a member of the United States Infantry of the time. In fact, this jacket is worn by one of my colleagues at the Lewis and Clark Trail, Ryan Kephart, and he does an impression of Captain Meriwether Lewis, and this is the jacket that he wears when he does that impression of Meriwether Lewis. Meriwether Lewis was part of the United States Infantry, an officer in the United States Infantry at that time, so this is the style of jacket that he would have worn. Other members of the Lewis and Clark expedition were in different United States Army units. Some of them would have been in the infantry and would have worn jackets similar to this one. It would have had silver coloration on that jacket too. Other members of the expedition were in the United States Artillery, and those jackets had a gold trim on the jackets as well, so a little bit different, but still vastly the same. Still mostly dark navy blue, and just with some differences in the other colors on the jacket. Soldiers at the time, as I mentioned, they would have only really had one of these jackets that they carried with them. Because of that, that jacket needed to be of a strong material, and that material is going to be wool. This jacket's made out of wool. It's got kind of a rough, scratchy texture to it. However, wool is a very, very strong material, and because of that, wool, it's going to be very difficult to rip that fabric. It's going to be hard for it to tear, or for that fabric to be destroyed in some sort of accident or other type of mishap. And also, because you've only got one jacket for all year round, that jacket needs to be warm enough to keep a soldier warm in the winter, and wool is also a very good material for that. The coats are also going to have some slight differences depending on the rank of the soldier. The officers' jackets are going to be a little flashier, a little more colorful than the jackets worn by, say, a private in the United States Army at the time. Another way that these jackets were utilized on the expedition, they were worn during dress formal occasions. Some of those occasions, such as having a council with an American Indian tribe, these jackets would have been worn. Also, on the expedition, these jackets were used as trade goods. Not only were the buttons on them very, very valuable for their metal, but also these jackets were just traded as nice warm jackets to different American Indian tribes that the Corps of Discovery came across. As they went on their expedition, they would trade these jackets for necessities such as food with the different American Indian tribes that they came into contact with. Now, regardless of the differences in style that these jackets had, whether they had silver trim, gold trim, any of that, these were all jackets issued by the United States Army. And when a group of people has a similar look, when they wear similar things, that goes a long way into helping build that group of people into a team. So these jackets really were a good part of building the Corps of Discovery into the team that was able to go all the way to the Pacific Ocean and arrive back and complete their task successfully. And that is also true today. Think of the different professionals that wear uniforms today, whether those are healthcare workers, some of the healthcare workers that are currently dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic, or whether that is our armed forces today. Jackets and different clothing items, uniforms, go a long way into building groups of people into a team. That was true at the time of the Lewis and Clark expedition, and that is true today. I'd like to leave you guys with that today. Thank you so much. I hope you guys have a good rest of your day. Bye-bye now.